Meet Me in London. Book by Georgia Toffolo. Chapter 13. The first touch of her lips was enough to send Oliver's lust into
superdrive.
She made him forget everything else but her, made his focus laser sharp on her and blind to everything else. He pressed her against the glass railing, molding his body to hers. He could feel her curves, the press of her breasts against his chest, the gentle parting of her legs to let him closer and closer still. He imagined stripping her clothes off, item by item, taking his time to unwrap her. He imagined how she would look in his bed, her dark hair flared on his pillow, her eyes heavy with sex. He imagined tracing his fingers and then his tongue across her body, kissing her most intimate
parts.
Oliver, she moaned as she opened her mouth to him, her tongue dancing with his as she wound her fingers into his hair. His hands went to her waist, fingers sliding under her sweater to the soft silk skin underneath. Her lips were still cold from the November night, but hot from need.
She
tasted of hope and freedom, of lush desire unfolding under his touch.
She
moaned against him, urging him on. He traced butterfly strokes up her rib cage, and she curled into him, twisting her body so her breast met his palm. The kiss was fire,
breath, heat,
a melding of wants and needs, a desperate exploration, possession. The minute he'd seen Andrew and Peter talking to her, he'd felt a feral need to claim her as his. And ever since that hug in her apartment, he'd been desperate to taste her again. And more.
God.
Yes, he wanted all of it, all of her. She moved against him, pressing hard against his body, kissing a hot, wet trail from his mouth to his neck in hungry gasps, making him writhe against her. An image of Peter and the way her ex had looked at her flashed through
his head.
Oliver cursed and found her mouth again, using her desperate kisses to wipe away the picture, wanting to brand his name on her lips, on
her skin.
No one else would ever kiss her like this. Want her like this.
No one.
My Victoria, he growled as he crushed her against the railing. But when he slipped his fingers underneath the lace bra cup, she went
completely still.
Reluctantly, he drew his mouth from hers, his breath ragged. You okay with this? She nodded and shook her head at the same time. Her eyes were wild with desire, a rough swelling of her lips. She looked utterly and thoroughly
kissed.
She swiped the back of her hand across her mouth. We have to stop. Yes, of course. Anyone could be watching. Any of the board members could come in, his staff, his mother, Andrew. It wasn't exactly a private place. She leaned her head against his chest. I mean, it's all happening so
quickly.
We need to slow down. Got you. Yes. She wasn't saying no. She just had a different gear than him, and that was okay. But for him, it was never going to be just a kiss.
And
it was never going to be enough. No matter how much he fought it, this thing they were developing was more complex than just physical attraction. And she was right to make them consider their actions. She'd been hurt before by a man who'd broken promises and betrayed her. It would take time to grow that trust again. Oliver had time. He was a patient man when it came to getting what he wanted. He could do the long game in business, so why not in his personal life? When she'd asked him earlier what his perfect woman would be like, he'd almost blurted out her name, her qualities. My Victoria, which had rattled him to the core. But talking about his grandparents' relationship had made him understand how precious it was to grab a chance at something.
No
matter how fleeting, to grasp joy when it came. She stroked his jaw and looked up at him with lust-soaked eyes that he wanted to dive into. I'm sure you have things to do tonight. Go visit your
dad.
Tell your parents I love the ring and am honored to wear it. And that Nana Norma sounds like one hell of a woman. It will make their night to hear that. He wasn't going to push it any further. She wasn't running scared, so that had to be a good thing.
When
she understood the subtext. I don't know.
Call me.
I'll text you. something. But she was smiling. There was no regret in her voice. She wasn't running away or trembling. She looked almost in control, which was more than he could say about the way he felt when he was with her. He wanted to press her against the railing, strip her naked, and make love to her. He wanted to wake up with her. He didn't know if he wanted it for 50 years, but tomorrow morning would be fine. And the next day. And the day after that. But his Victoria wanted a slow burn. She needed to develop trust. He got
that.
She didn't think this could be real. He just had to make her believe it could. How are the show plans coming along? Sarah asked a few days later in the quiet lull in the bar just after opening and before the lunchtime rush. I've just had Nisha on the phone in a panic about not being able to find any black buttons the right size for one of her dresses. Jasmine's gone so quiet. I think she's scared half to death and has gone to ground.
Victoria
Laughed, although it was a little on the hysterical side. And Billy's mother's rung 3 times to confirm timings. I could sort it all out with them on Friday, but everyone wants answers now. So in a nutshell, we're moving from excited to fever pitch. God help me by next Saturday.
I might
need some tranquilizers. Or alcohol? Sarah brandished a miniature bottle of tequila. She was about to hang on one of the branches. Need a shot. Not while I'm working. Even though their contract said they were allowed to drink within reasonable limits while behind the bar, she didn't think it was good luck to be more drunk than her patrons. How's his lordship? She assumed Sarah meant Oliver.
Fine.
Lovely, in fact. She hadn't heard from him in a few days, and that was absolutely fine. They both needed some time apart. That last kiss had been better than the first, but had complicated things. Man, it had been good, but it had pushed her so close to the edge, she could have made love to him right there in the
store.
The way her body responded to him, even just the little things like his smile or the fleeting touch of his skin, set her on fire. Nana Norma had a lot to answer for. But even so, Victoria couldn't wipe the smile from her face. Having a handsome, good man wanting to kiss her had been a real boost to her ego. She just had to work out what to do next.
Could it even be possible that
things could work out between them?
Somehow?
Hell, Norma wouldn't let anything stand in the way of what she wanted. The trouble was, Victoria didn't know what Oliver wanted and whether it was completely at odds with what she could actually provide. Yes, love. What can I get you? Sarah asked a customer who had just walked in. Victoria had her back to the door, but the second she heard the voice, she didn't have to turn to see who it was. The hair stood up on her neck.
And
not in a good way. Hello, Vicky. It's Victoria, she replied and turned around to give Oliver's cousin the kind of greeting he was giving her. A cold stare. Didn't think this was your kind of place. Andrew looked round at the wine bar with its dark wood floor, gray pigmented walls, and edgy industrial vibe, and scowled. You're not wearing your engagement ring. She looked down at her finger and at the little circle of indented skin the ring had made. It's not safe to wear something like that in here. I could lose it. It could get damaged. His eyes met hers, and she saw a sad emptiness there. It's not real.
Victoria.
Her stomach tightened. He knew, as she'd feared, he was going to out her as a liar. Or a con merchant. Maybe he thought she was stringing Oliver along, that she'd duped him into proposing.
Ha.
If only he knew. Of course it's real. We're a couple. Oliver is lovely. Whirlwind romance. His favorite color is not green or blue. It's the color of the moon on a cloudless night. He hates his job, but he's doing it for his family. For you, Andrew. He shook his head, a snarl on his mouth. I meant the ring. The one they gave you is just glass. The real one's in a safe at the bank. They're just playing a game too. They wouldn't risk giving something as valuable as that to a barmaid. Designer. He really was trying to unsettle her, and she refused to allow. Today? She was so not ready for this and couldn't tell Stella any truths. without discussing everything with Oliver first. She needed to make sure. Eric wasn't going to be upset because the last thing she wanted was to make him relapse. She doesn't want to admit to you and the family, but basically, Vicky's nervous about the opening day. Sarah jumped in, and Victoria could have kissed her. I'm having to talk her off the ledge. She doesn't think she's good enough. But we all know she is, right? Inspired. It wasn't a lie and hinted about the real anxieties she had. Oh, my dear, I'm sure your designs are every bit as good as Oliver says. They are. And I imagine if you work here, you'll be equipped to herd a group of teenage girls into order. You don't know the girls. Victoria laughed, grateful that Stella and Sarah had so much faith in her. How's Eric? You can always tell when a man's getting better, they stop being compliant and start complaining and giving orders. That man has a serious grump at times. Stella shook her head, her mouth set in a grim line.
I
needed a break before I did something bad, like increasing his dosage of laxatives. So, I thought I'd take a trip to see the store, and then found myself here.
She was deadpan.
But funny. Are you meeting Andrew? Victoria asked as nonchalantly as she could. He was just in here, said he was looking for someone. I wasn't expecting it. To be you, to be honest. Andrew?
No.
But I think I saw him farther down the street crossing the road. Heading to Peter's? Maybe he's meeting someone about the village stalls. That boy has an agenda all of his own. Don't mind him, he's all about the grump too. Russell's side of the family forewarned is forearmed.
Victoria.
Don't take any of their crap. Stella looked down at her hands and then back at Victoria. My dear, I wondered, I know this is rude of me, but…
No.
She shook her head decisively. No, you wouldn't. Silly of me. Really? What? Victoria's heart clattered. What the hell was she going to be asked to do now? I used to love making clothes when I was younger. Could I have a peek? In your studio? That was all? Relief spread through Victoria's body.
Oh, yes.
Of course. You can. Sarah, can I? Sure, we're not exactly busy. Why don't you take your time owing and have the rest of the day off? You can get on with your sewing then, too. Sarah's eyes widened in encouragement. It's upstairs. Come on up. You'll have to excuse the mess. With opening day just around the corner, I've left my things out so I can work on them whenever I have any spare time. Victoria led the way up the stairs, silently thanking the fact that she'd woken up this morning, realized the place was a pigsty, and whizzed round with the vacuum cleaner and cloth. Stella walked through the flat with the air of an estate agent doing an inspection. Victoria wondered how she was going to handle it if Oliver's Mum ran her finger over the mantelpiece and tooted at the dust bunnies. But she needn't have worried. Stella's eyes softened as she walked into the studio. Her hand went to her chest. Oh, it's just how I hoped it would
be.
She rushed over to the table and smoothed her hand over a bolt of lace. The way Victoria did when she found something she coveted, and instantly, Victoria's heart made a space for Oliver's mother. Someone else who appreciated fabric as much as she did. You have a good eye for quality material, Victoria. Stella walked to a mannequin and inspected a dress. I made myself something like this when I was newly married. Well, I say it was something like this. That was the plan. I spent a fortune on the best fabric I could get from Liberty. I love it there.
Me too.
I convinced Eric I was saving us money in the long run by making my own clothes. Remember, we didn't have 8 fashion seasons a year and throwaway clothes like we do now. Eric liked that I was trying to be frugal. He may be rich, but he's astute and doesn't like wastefulness.
Stella smiled.
One of the reasons I like vintage clothes is because they're so well made and designed to last. Exactly, and they suit you. Stella's laser gaze appraised Victoria's curled updo hairstyle and her floral rockabilly dress. She nodded her approval, but I was a terrible seamstress. The hem was uneven and the sleeves didn't fit right. They were too blousy and puffy. She laughed at the memory.
You wanted adresse à la Coco Chanel.
But Eric said it looked more like something Coco the clown would wear. It ended up in the dog basket. Most expensive blanket that dog ever had. Victoria laughed at the thought of a dog in puffy sleeves. I've had a lot of failures of my own, trust me. I seriously doubt that, and I bet none of them ended up as dress-ups for the dogs. Damned Pooch dragged it everywhere until it fell to pieces.
Oh, I
love this. She'd moved on to the next dress. That's for the bridal collection I'm showing on opening day. Bridesmaid, or ball gown or party wear. It was the dress she'd imagined Lily wearing. Simple but classic shift shape with an accentuated waist and soft frill round. The hem. The fabric draped beautifully, and it perfectly suited Lily's approach to life. Simple and natural. It's stunning. Stella walked around examining each piece, but when she came to the wedding dress, she stood and gaped.
This is divine.
For you? Victoria was not going to fall into the fairy tale trap and start to dream and hope for something so completely unattainable. This thing with Oliver was moving fast, but it was not going to end with a bouquet and a nice dress. And her father walking her up the aisle. It's my design, yes. She hoped that would be suitably vague, but enough to stop further
questioning.
Stella was already completely wedded to the idea and was, as people often did, making up her own answers in her head. I can see you in this, walking towards Oliver, but it's probably bad luck for me to see it. Even so, the woman couldn't take her eyes from it. Don't worry, it's going to be in the show, so everyone's going to see it in a few days. But they won't know it's uniquely yours for you. You are so talented. Stella certainly knew how to say all the right things, but Victoria hadn't. Missed the way the older woman's eyes wandered to Victoria's left hand. More than once. Looking for the ring, she supposed. Oh, and thank you so very much for the ring. It is absolutely stunning.
I
hope Oliver mentioned how much I love it. I don't wear it for work in case it gets damaged. My hands are in and out of hot water too much, and I have to move the furniture to mop the floors. Good girl. Practical too. Nana Norma would love you to have it. She sounds amazing. I'm sure she exaggerated half those stories, but they entertained the boys when they were growing up. The older woman walked along the room peering at the shelves of fabrics and patterns.
She beamed at the
Wedding Dreams vision board and nodded, as if she'd found a clue in a puzzle.
Score 1 to Victoria.
This is wonderful. Are you planning a honeymoon in Hawaii?
Go to
Maui. Not as brash as Oahu. Less touristy and some divine restaurants.
But
Stella's smile slipped as she scanned the wall. No pictures of Oliver? The swift subject change made Victoria feel slightly off balance.
She
considered lying and saying she had a picture in her bedroom, but thought better of it. No doubt Stella would want to check. I just haven't had time to print any up. I'll do it after the opening day. Everything has to wait until then. Naturally, you're both so busy. She stopped at the picture of before the
accident,
which had become the defining moment of Victoria's life.
Before
and after. Hope, innocence, and a clear, bright, blemish-free future.
Then,
confronting her guilt, her scars, and redefining her dreams. And these are not your sisters?
No.
You're all so different. My friends from Devon, school friends, were spread over the world now, but we still keep in touch. Birthdays, Christmas, you know. It looks like summer. I love summer by the sea. It is amazing. So much space and light.
When you looked out at the
horizon, you always felt as if there was space and opportunity out there. It was fun. We used to take a little rowing boat round to a private beach and, while away the summer sunbathing and laughing, gossiping, Victoria felt a pang in her solar plexus at the memories. Wish they could go back to that time when everything was so innocent and simple. Always make time for your friends, Victoria. Never give them up for a
man.
They'll keep you sane, and trust me, being married to a Russell feels a little insane at times. This was all Stella's excuse for a mother-in-law.
Chat then.
She was scoping Victoria out. This is lovely. I just wanted to... Oh, dear, you're going to think I'm terrible, but I just wanted to see you. Here I am. Victoria's hands flapped at her sides. She felt like a prize bowl being inspected for sale. But at the same time her heart went out to a woman who was desperate to see her son happy. It's all been so quick, you see. I know we have years to get to know each other, but I wanted to... This sounds awful of me. I wanted to check you
out.
Am I a bad person?
No.
I am. If my son was getting married, I'd probably check the woman out too. Maybe not as obviously, but I'd probably Facebook stalk her or something. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Good idea. Unfortunately, I'm not good with social media.
Stella winked.
So, you're off the hook on that one. Victoria felt a rush of relief. Oliver's mother could at least joke about what she was doing, even though it was obvious and a little intrusive. She was starting to realize what a force Oliver had to deal with and why he was trying to keep his parents at arm's length when it came to his love life. Victoria decided she might as well play this game. Do I pass the test? Flying colors. I'm so pleased to see Oliver so happy. You've made a real difference to him. Stella drew a little closer and grew more serious. I also wanted to talk to you. Really talk, Victoria. Oh. She'd passed level 1 somehow and had progressed to level 2 of the daughter-in-law test. The last thing she wanted was a heart-to-heart. But the woman was taking a break from her sick husband. Victoria could hardly refuse her a little chat. Do you want to come through to the kitchen? I can make us some tea.
No.
I can't stay long. I need to get back to Eric. I just wanted to say, darling, she covered Victoria's hand. Not everyone's like Nana Norma. I don't understand. She thrived at Russell and Company. She built a good life and a very good business, which we all benefit from. But her children barely saw her. I think she realized later in life what she missed out on, which is why she spent so much time with her grandchildren. That happens. We all have to work. It's hard to get the balance right. Sometimes. There is no balance for Russell. Eric was groomed to take over the business. He didn't question it, but I know it wasn't what made him happy. If he'd had his life over, he'd have done something else. Medicine, perhaps, or engineering. But it was his family duty, and he couldn't bear to be the one that walked away or broke up what his parents and grandparents had worked so hard to build. And I know he's done the same to Oliver. It's a legacy thing. They feed each other.
Stella sighed.
Don't let him turn into his father. Put your foot down. Draw a line at him working all hours. Please. I'm sure we'll work it out between us. Things are different these days. Although they weren't for Oliver, the whole family needed to sit down and just talk. I got sucked into the firm too, and we ended up forfeiting the one thing I wanted more than anything, a family. More babies. Eric was so busy and I helped share that load, being available at all hours for business dinners and trips, schmoozing investors and shareholders. But we put it off, and I regret that so much. We should have had more fun, and now it's too late. Victoria didn't know what to say. I'm so sorry. I really am. Thank you, my dear. I know you are. I can see it in your eyes. Stella's own eyes misted. My boy is right. You are perfect for him. For us. Just enjoy each other and your babies when they come. Make him take time off. And don't send your children away like Eric made me. Victoria couldn't hide her shock. He made you send Oliver away? Don't be so surprised. It's Russell family tradition. Same school, same university. And I went along with it. All that stiff upper lip, refusing to hug him before he disappeared into the school hall because it would make him soft and make me cry. So I held it all in and sobbed on the way home.
I did.
cuddle him, when he was little. I used to hold him for hours.
But
Eric said our son needed to learn how to be a man. His type of man.
so I
Worked hard to hold myself back when Eric was around, and then, well, Ollie went off to school, and when he came back, he was independent, and didn't seem to need me anymore. Didn't seem to want me around. We grew apart. He grew up, and now, well, things are difficult, and I don't know how to get them back on track without looking like I'm interfering. This was so sad. All of them hurting, none of them knowing how to take the first move towards healing. Talk to him. Tell him how you feel. Stella shook her head. I don't know if he'd listen. He's a grown man.
now
But you can break the mold, Victoria. Don't make my mistakes.
keep
Your baby's close. Babies. This time she couldn't ignore the word. Victoria couldn't help run her hand across the gnarled and scarred skin on her belly. There would be no Russell babies for her. For the first time in a long time, Victoria felt sorrow and longing swell through her. A baby. Yes.
Over the years she'd convinced
Herself she didn't want one, that she had enough to offer without producing children. And yet recently she'd begun yearning for what she couldn't have, since her reality had been brought back into sharp focus by Peter. But it didn't matter what she felt, there was no legacy for Stella from this damaged body. It hit her then that this poor woman was laying out her hopes and dreams for Victoria to trample over with her and Oliver's silly deal. Things were going too far. She didn't want to play this game anymore.
she didn't want
To develop a relationship with this woman or this family, but it was already too late. She was going to have to talk to Oliver and make it stop.